Welcome back to lesson 2.7, part 2. So we are going to be covering just the problems that we didn't quite get to in 2.7. They'll just be a good extra boost for you and your understanding. We're talking about inequalities with absolute value. So inequalities involving absolute value. And we have this little summary that we were using that you may want to keep near you for the test. So you've got some good resources. That when you have an inequality, when it's equal, we learned this in 2.6, that you can have x equal to the negative of c or the positive of c. But if it's a less than right here and right here, it's going to be within the boundaries. If it is a greater than here and here, it's going to be outside the boundaries. So it'll be less than the negative or greater than the positive. Less than the negative or greater than the positive. So let's look at a couple of examples here for you. So if you go to the third page of notes for letter F, or sorry, the third page of notes for letter F, we're going to look at that one first. So this is a greater than, so we're going to be looking at when a minus 6 is less than or equal to the negative of 3, or a minus 6 is greater than or equal to the positive of 3. Because it's greater than, we're looking at the outsides. Remember, we said we could picture this like this. And then here is y equals 0. Here's y equals 0. And here's y equals a negative 3. But where can this expression be less than a negative 3 or greater than a positive 3? And actually, it should be greater than a 3. It should be like this. And this should be 3. And this should be 0. So there's the cutoff points. I kind of drew this weird. Is this one that's darker? So this is the space that's going to be our solution out here. So to isolate a on both of these, we're going to add 6. So a is less than or equal to a positive 3. So on a number line, we have 3. And then a is less than 6. We're going to add 6 to both sides. So a is going to be greater than or equal to a positive 9. So if we have 0, and let's say we have 9 here, it's inclusive because we have a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So it's inclusive this way, less than or equal to a positive 3 or greater than or equal to a positive 9. So it's getting brackets because of the inclusion. And so in integral format, this would look like a negative infinity up to 3 with a bracket union bracket 9 up to a positive infinity. Okay, let's flip the page, and we've got letter G at the top. And letter G, we are going to first isolate the absolute value before we make any decisions. So it's the absolute value of 2a minus 6 by adding 1 is greater than or equal to 3. So again, because it's greater than, we're going to be on the outsides. So we're looking at when 2a minus 6 is less than or equal to a negative 3, or 2a minus 6 is greater than the positive 3. So if we add 6, we've got 2a is less than or equal to 3 divided by 2. So a is less than or equal to 3 halves. Here's 0, here's 3 halves. We'll mark that in a minute. And then likewise, we're going to go back up here and add 6. And we'll have 2a is greater than or equal to 9. And divide by 2. We have a is greater than or equal to 9 halves. So 9/2 would be here, say. And because it's an including with a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, so it gets a bracket. So less than or equal to 3/2 or greater than or equal to 9/2. And then the interval will be similar here with the brackets union. Yeah. So having this little piece cut out for you, I would cut that out. So like I said, so it's handy that you're using it each time. So let's look at letter I at the bottom here. So again, it's another greater than or equal to. So we're looking at when a negative 3x plus 1 is less than or equal to a negative 7, or a negative 3x plus 1 is greater than or equal to a positive 7. So the first thing we're going to do is subtract 1. And then we're going to divide by a negative 3. And that alerts us that when we divide it by a negative, because it's an inequality, we have to circle because we have to flip our inequality. So this results in x is greater than or equal to 8/3. We have to flip the inequality because we divided by a negative. And so we'll reflect that on the number line here in a moment. So let's go ahead over here and solve for x by subtracting 1. So we have a negative 3x greater than or equal to 6. And then again, we're dividing by a negative. So that alerts us that we have to flip our symbol. So that results in x is less than or equal to a negative 2. So that means our negative 2 will be on the left. We've got 0 in the middle and then 8/3 on the right. And because we're including with the less than or equal to and greater than or equal to, we are less than or equal to a negative 2 this way and greater than or equal to a positive 8/3 this way. So we have a negative infinity up to a negative 2 with a bracket, union a bracket 8/3 to a positive infinity. And the last two that I have here, on the last page, these are both less than scenarios, so we're going to be between because they're both less than. So a negative 3x plus 4 is going to be less than or is going to be greater than or equal to a negative 7 or less than or equal to a positive 7. And what's nice here is we only have to solve for x one time. So we're going to subtract 4 to all three sections. And then we're going to divide by a negative 3. But because we divided by a negative, we definitely have to circle. We're going to have to flip our symbols always. So a negative 11 divided by negative 3 is a positive 11/3. We got to flip that to a greater than or equal to x greater than or equal to a negative 1. So I'm going to rewrite it so my negative 1 is on the left. So it's really a negative 1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 11/3. And because it's including, we're going to have brackets. So a negative 1 to 11/3 in the bracket. And then likewise, it would look the same on the number line. So we would just have a bracket here. and shading in between. So I'm expecting you to show your work like this on the test. You will have a separate upload for all of your work that you'll scan in on your paper, and you'll upload that into a separate Canvas. It looks like an assignment called Test Chapter 2 Written Work. Okay, so the last one here is K. And so it's a less than, so we're going to have a negative 1/2 is less than 2x plus 5 is less than a positive 1/2. And because we have fractions, I'm going to multiply through by my fraction, which is my denominator, which is 2, to simplify things. So this will become a negative 1 less than, and then this expression is going to get doubled. So 4x plus 10 less than 1. Because I had to distribute the 2 to the parentheses here. So first thing we'll do is subtract 10. And we'll have a negative 11 is less than 4x is less than negative 9. And then we're going to divide by 4. So a negative 11 fourths is less than x is less than a negative 9 fourths. So our number line here oops, is a negative 9 fourths is over here on this side of the 0. And because it's open parentheses, we have just an open parenthesis in here. And our interval is the same thing. So it's just a negative 11 fourths to a negative 9 fourths with the parentheses. And that is all we have. Catch me back for some of the next lesson.